Hi. Oh, shoot, my hair. You know what? I don't care. I don't care. You know why I don't care? Because I just spent the last, wait, how many days is it? What's today? Is today Saturday or Friday? Today's Saturday. Oops. In a hospital. And I am now recovering from gallbladder surgery. Gallbladder was busted. Totally broke. Entirely useless. So they took it out, and I'm in pain now and recovering. But for that reason, we are not doing a full wrap up. Also, I am really regretting my life choices of sitting on the floor. I think I'm gonna have to like lay down and then like gently roll over and get up that way, because I don't think I'm gonna be able to. I don't know, we'll see. I've got some stuff I can lean on. Maybe I can pull myself up. Maybe it's my upper body strength. Take care of your gallbladders, people. I really don't recommend this as an experience. Anyway, yeah, I was in the bed. It's remarkable when you're in the hospital feeling terrible, how much like your base minimum of like hygiene and like looking good is to you. Like, I didn't shower for 3 days. I didn't eat for 2 days. No makeup. It was you just don't care. So I don't care right now anyway. All that to say, I don't know why I'm rambling. Let's wrap up this month of reading, which is May. It's actually May 31st as I'm filming this, but seeing as how I haven't read a single word since Tuesday, and it is, no, Monday is the last time I read anything. Monday afternoon? Yeah, because it was Memorial Day and I went to Barnes & Noble for their sale and I got a couple books. Everything went downhill after dinner. So my body had enough. It said, this is it. This is the time. You take care of this now or you'll never sleep again. Anyway, yeah, I haven't read anything. And so I missed 5 days of reading. And there were 3 or 4, maybe even 5 books I wanted to read, and several that I wanted to finish reading that I started this month that I guess I will talk about. Probably not next month because I'm doing my 30 books in 30 days and I have that pretty well planned out. July is mood reading month, so maybe I will get to them / finish them then. Right? And that's with me still trying to catch up on the books I still haven't finished from March. Good news is, I think this gallbladder being gone is going to be a game changer because I've been reading up on it, and like the symptoms you can have are kind of wild and they are incredibly varied. And 2 of the symptoms are brain fog and fatigue. So last 7 years of my life explained. It's very possible. I mean, I know I have been depressed, but it's also very possible that sometimes I've just been tired because my gallbladder was broke. Let's stop talking about that. What I'm going to do here is we're going to do a very structured look at each of these books. I'm going to get to each of them in less than a minute. There's only 25 of them. I probably was going to finish up to 30 if this hadn't happened, but I'm going to say the name of the book, the author. I'm going to give a very, very brief summary of what the book is about, and then a very, very brief summary of my feelings. We are going to go in order. Side note, did you know that when you have laparoscopic surgery, they inflate your abdomen with gas? And then the gas stays in there and it hurts real bad? I had a panic attack when I woke up because it hurt so bad, so they gave me fentanyl. Too bad I wasn't really aware enough to enjoy that. You need to stop, baby girl. Lily says hi. She's rubbing her face on my laptop. I need this for my notes. Okay, let's do this. So I think what I'm going to do first is do audiobooks and go down from lowest rated to, and ebooks, lowest rated to highest rated. And then I'm going to go to my physical copies, which are right over there. And then we're going to be done. And I will see you guys for my unboxing book haul later this week. Stop it, you little monster. It's amazing how different pets can be when something like this happens, because Pippin, I feel like, is very aware that I'm sick. And he has been treating me very gently and not being up to his usual shenanigans and messing with things I don't want him to mess with. And he cuddled with me for about an hour this afternoon while I was just sitting there watching YouTube because I can't read. And this one, stepping on my incisions, wants cuddles, just a menace in general because she's not very bright. Okay, now for real, let's talk about books. I read 25 books, or attempted to read 25 books. There are some that I would have finished had this not happened, so I'm not counting those in this number. But if I've DNF'd a book during the month of May, that is here. I'm not counting those others as DNFs. I just haven't finished them yet. So DNFs. The only DNF that I did that was digital is Two Can Play by Ali Hazelwood. And I did that because it is only an audiobook right now. It is a rom-com about two gamers. That's all I know about it. And it is a Spotify audiobook, but you can get it anywhere. And I hated the narrator. And I knew if I kept listening to the narrator that I would not give the book a good rating. So I said, I'm just going to treat this like it's not published and wait till it has an ebook or a paper copy. And that is when I will read it. Now, I did have two-star books, so only one of them was digital though. And that is a little book called Behooved. So this is by, oh shoot, what's her name? M. Stevenson. Now, this is a book I was so excited to read, mostly because I love My Lady Jane, and a more adult version of that sounded really fun because it's a romantasy. And it was basically, the idea is there was an arranged marriage between two people from different countries, and she gets there and she has her marriage to the king and blah, blah, blah. The night right before they're about to consummate their marriage, they're attacked by assassins, and through a series of ridiculous, terribly plotted coincidences, he turns into a horse. And then the rest of the book is spent with them getting to know each other while he's a horse at night or during the day and a man at night. I don't remember. Premise sounded so fun. Problems with it. Took itself way too serious. You're going to have a stupid ass premise like this, you better be goofy as shit about it, okay? Because man-horse books, or you have to be really talented to make it seem serious. And this author just didn't have the depth of ability in her writing, okay? She didn't. Number two, the characters are idiots. Especially the main character. Just terrible decision-making, boring character. And then the third thing is the actual plot itself was so half-assed. Like I said, the main plot, the reason that he turns into a horse is completely idiotic. It makes no sense whatsoever. There, I'm just going to spoil it because I want to tell you guys. If you don't want to be spoiled for the plot of this book and you're looking forward to it, skip ahead to this timestamp, okay? The reason he turns into a horse is because this girl's sister gives her a magical enchantment that is supposed to lend her aid if she's attacked, because the sister's worried about her going to this foreign country that they don't necessarily have a great relationship with. And when the assassin attacks, she initiates the spell, and it turns her husband into a horse to protect her. What? Tell me how that helps the situation? You had a man, and now you have a horse inside of a building? What the is the horse gonna do to protect you? It literally makes no sense. Absolutely zero sense. The whole book is like that. I gave it 2 stars. Okay, moving on. 2.5 stars. Unfortunately, I did have two and a half star books this month. The only digital one was Feed Them Silence. I have a reading blog for that one where Chantal picked my TBR, so I'll link that down below. I also have the Ali Hazelwood video linked down below where I DNF'd Two Can Play. I'll talk about the rest of the books in that video in a second. Feed Them Silence was a really well-written book that just wasn't for me. It is by, oh my God, why can't I remember things right now? So much for my brain being better. Lee Mandello. It's a sci-fi book about a woman who is a scientist researching a pack of wolves, and she takes this existing technology that apparently we're going to have in the future called a brain net, and uses it to become a wolf or to experience wolf thoughts. And then it's this whole thing with her wife and their marriage falling apart, and then the research she's doing is completely selfish and unethical. And I just thought it was unpleasant, and I got what the author was going for, but I didn't like it. So 2.5 stars. 3 stars. This was an ARC. It's called Eat the Ones You Love. I thought this was going to be at least 4 stars, like 25% of the way in. I loved the writing voice. The main narrator is a plant. He's a plant. And the guy's voice is lovely. And he is an incredibly judgmental, bitchy little plant about all these characters. And it was very amusing and fun to read. And then it just kind of kept going and kind of fizzled out. It was really kind of a ending, you know what I mean? Like it didn't hit me. I'm not sure what happened, but I started to fizzle on it about halfway through, and then I just sort of finished it out of obligation because it was an arc and also because it was short. But I would definitely read from the author again. I just would hope that she would get her plotting and her pacing a little bit tightened up and maybe like right towards an ending instead of like letting the ending sort of fizzle. It just felt like it was an ending written on the fly. Maybe it wasn't, but that's what it felt like to me. 3 stars on that. Okay, 3.5 stars. I read Cruel Winter with You by Ali Hazelwood, another rom-com. I did this one by audio. It's free for Prime members. It was actually my least favorite thing I've ever read from her, but it was perfectly fine at the same time. So just a little novella about 2 childhood, well, they weren't really sweethearts because one liked the other and the other one didn't like them back, but reconnecting over Christmas. And it was fine. I listened to The Violin Conspiracy by Brendan Slocum, and this is billed as a mystery thriller. It is not. It is not in any way, shape, or form a mystery thriller. There's like a very, very, very light mystery element. I would say like 5% of the book is the mystery element, because the violin prodigy, who is the main character, has his $10 million Stradivarius violin stolen, and they're trying to figure out what happened to it. But that's just the entry point. The meat of the book is learning how this kid went from being in a pretty poor black family to being one of the most celebrated violinists in the world. At first because he owned a Stradivarius, and secondly because, well, I won't get into it, but I had a good time with it. It wasn't like something that I think that'll stick with me, but it was the author's first book, and it was a very intriguing subject matter. It did end up feeling a lot more, though, like general fiction / historical fiction, which is why I'm sort of giving it this low rating, because that genre doesn't really appeal to me. Also, I hated his family, which you're supposed to, but I really hated them, and that negatively impacted my feelings for the book. So 3.5 stars. I did round it up to 4 though, because it's really unique. Okay, next digital book is also a 3.5 star, and that is Anjie Kills a King by, oh my God, I can't remember names today. Brain is still broken. Evan Lycum. This is the debut fantasy. It is the first in a series, and it is about a girl named Anjie who lives in this repressive regime, a monarchy, and she, through a series of circumstances, you know, it's a book, makes her way one night into the chamber of the king as a maid, and just on the spur of the moment, no thought in her head whatsoever, kills the king. And then the plot unfolds from there as bounty hunters are set on her. If anything, I would say though that while this is set in an epic fantasy world, it actually has more of a, I'm not going to say literary fiction because it was too focused on logistics for that, but it definitely has a more character-focused plot. Really not that much happens at all. And sadly, the reason this is getting 3.5 stars is because the character personalities this author chose for his characters and stuck to severely inhibited my ability to attach emotionally to either of the characters in a positive way. Because it's the main relationship is between Anjie and this bounty hunter that captures her called the Hawk. Their dynamic for like 60% of the book, maybe more, like 75%, 80%, is Anjie being annoying and asking questions, and the Hawk telling her to shut the up. I mean, that's the dynamic. And that makes sense for both of their personalities, but it is not really fun to read about. And I can't wait until the world, I'm going to keep going with the series because I want to see what she does with the character growth that Anjie experienced. And also, like, if the world can open up and have it be less focused in on just Anjie. I want to see more of the world and like what's going on there. So 3.5 stars. I did also round up to 4 on that one. That brings me to 4 stars. So real quick, I read We Need New Names by Novailet Bulawayo. This is literary fiction. It is also historical fiction because it's roughly autobiographical, very roughly. Obviously not everything in it actually happened, but the author grew up in Zimbabwe, and the main character, Darling, lives in Zimbabwe, and then half of the book is her with her childhood friends in Zimbabwe. And through the lens of their eyes, the author shows you what Zimbabwe was like at that time. The second half of the book is when Darling moves to the United States, Detroit, Michigan, to live with her aunt and her experience as a young immigrant. This was very well written, and like certain scenes are like indelibly imprinted in my mind, but as a whole, it didn't quite catch my emotions. I did give it a 4 though, because it was really well done, and I think a lot of it is just me not loving literary fiction as a genre, but it was very interesting, and I learned about Zimbabwe, which I didn't really know much about Zimbabwe before, so I would recommend it if it sounds interesting to you. And oh, by the way, the title is funny. We Need New Names is because there's this scene where the kids are, well, it's not funny, but it is. It's darkly funny. One of the children experienced SA by her grandfather and is pregnant, and the other kids are determined to help her and get the baby out of her stomach. So one of them had seen ER on a television when they went visiting somebody, like the television show ER, Blast from the Past. So they literally say, hey, we need new names to do this. And then they call themselves, they get some of the names of the doctors right from ER, but then they also just make other stuff up. Anyway, so I know that scene was like incredibly important to the book, but I can't quite grasp the meaning of it. Anyway, moving on, 4 stars. I read What Stuck With You and Below Zero. These are 2 novellas, the only 2 novellas. Well, I bought this collection and read the first novella the week that I bought it, and then I didn't read the second 2 novellas for some reason, so I was reading those, and I gave them both 4 stars. They were written pretty early in her career, and I think at least one of them could have benefited from being a full novel and not a novella, but they were still good enough times. Then I read Genesis of Misery. I did this on audiobook, and oh, it's right here. Let's see if I can, oh, my tummy. It's right here. This was a wackadoodle sci-fi about a person who is the chosen one, and it involves mechs and fighting and space and hallucinations, and it's basically, I mean, the rough pitch for this is Joan of Arc in space, but it's not quite really that. So, but I had a good time with it. I read this as part of my Chantal picking my TBR. This was her pick for me or one of her picks for me as a book that she's an outlier on, because a lot of people don't like this, and she did, and I did too. So 4 stars. Sorry, I don't have much room in my diaphragm right now because everything is swollen, incredibly swollen. So I'm hoping that goes away soon. Then I picked up a cozy mystery audiobook called It's Elementary by Elise Bryant. I will be continuing in the series. I had a lot of fun with this. The mom drama was a bit much for me. I mean, just like, come on. I know those type of people exist, and it was really well done, but I just like don't like being reminded that they exist sometimes. But that is a cozy mystery about a woman who she's a single mom. She's divorced, and her child is in the school, and she gets roped into being the chair of the DEI committee by this annoying white woman named Trish. And then at her first meeting, the principal goes missing, the new principal. And she just happens to see later that night while walking her dog, Trish coming out of the school with plastic bags and gloves and cleaning supplies. So she and the school psychologist happen to meet and decide to investigate. And soon enough, the wife of the principal offers a reward of $20,000 for information on him. The thing that I really liked about this one is that it treated Mavis, who's the main character, like a full character. A lot of the times in cozy mysteries, you just get like the signifiers. You get the signposts of the character, and you're meant to fill in the rest yourself. But here we actually get a pretty deep dive into her history and the way she is at her work and what she wants and how she feels about her ex-husband and her child. And it was just really well done, and it was really well written. So I'm going to continue with the series. Okay, and then the last 4-star was also an arc, and that was The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy by Brigitte Knightley. I looked up how to say it. It's Brigitte. Obviously, it's a pen name. This author was previously a fanfic author, and I had been a little bit confused about this one. I thought it was a pull-to-publish fanfiction because the author had previously written a Draco Hermione fic, which I don't read Harry Potter fanfiction, so I'm like totally out of the loop on this, called Draco Malfoy and the mortifying ordeal of falling in love. I think that's what it's called. And I heard somewhere that this was that fic pulled and published, but apparently it's not. Apparently it's a new thing. So, but I definitely think the main characters are, well, I was going to say they're Draco and Hermione coded, but they're not really, because if anything, they're fan Draco coded, because I do know, even though I don't read that fan fiction, that people insist on romanticizing Draco Malfoy and his disgusting bullying behavior, and then that in turn leads them to ship him with Hermione, and I'm just like, that's gross, you guys. I don't like a bully romance. I don't. If that had been the dynamic in this book, I don't think I would have liked it. But these two characters, Orion and Osric, they've never met before. We see them meet in this book. They don't have any history. He didn't bully her. He is just a member of an order that is starkly opposed to the order of magic that she practices. She's a healer and he's an assassin, and he assassinates. This isn't one of those books where the assassin doesn't assassinate. There is a large body count in this book, while at the same time it being completely a romantic comedy, because it's very funny. Obviously the humor is not going to work for everyone. It very much worked for me most of the time. I would say there was like 5% of the time where a joke didn't hit, but it was also an arc. So I'm hoping that some of the stuff that was like glaringly weird to me will get removed in edits, because I got this audiobook, this arc like 6 months ago. So there's no way they haven't polished it up. So I'm sure some stuff is going to stick, but I'm sure there's also a lot of really, really rough stuff in there that is going to get better. And I gave it a 4 even with the roughness. My main issue with this, because I loved the dynamic between Orion and Osric. Osric is like one of those lovable rogues that you just can't help but like him. And he does have a little heart of gold that he buries very deep. He's an orphan. He has a sad backstory, but he's completely irrepressible. And Orion just can't resist. Plus, he's apparently beautiful. He's a beautiful, roguish goofball. And the writing itself is very voicey. So that is another thing. Like, if you do not gel with the writing style, you're going to hate this book. It has a very, very strong voice. I loved it. So my Kindle edition was highlighted all to hell. Like, I'm enjoying a book when I highlight that much. The only real beef I have with this book is the world building, which it seemed really haphazard to me and didn't fully cohere into like a believable world. I could fill a lot of the blanks in myself, but some of this stuff was just really super confusing, and you wouldn't think that they should go together. Like, they have electricity, they have antibiotics, they have elevators, but they don't have jeans. All the women wear skirts. They have suits of armor that their wardens, which is another order of magic, wear. Like, it's very bizarre. And I went with it and it was fine, but it also just kind of bugged me. Actually, the thing that bothered me the most besides that was the times the author brought in modern slang that makes no sense in the context of the world she's created. Like, there's this sex worker character who has giant bazoombas, and she names them thoughts and prayers, which is a funny joke if you're in contemporary Western world, but in a unidentified space where there's no guns, like as far as I could see, there was no guns. People sword fight. That's how they fight, with swords and axes and a mace. There's no guns. So how would the phrase thoughts and prayers even exist? That's just like, Lily, don't do that. That is not for scratching. That is my basket of blankets. Lily. Oh, now she just, I can't move. Hey, come here. She just tried to eat a piece of the wood or the willow or wicker or whatever it is. Yeah, you stay here, and then I'm going to have to go pick that up so you don't eat it later. Anyway, I had a delightful time with this book, and if it sounds interesting to you, I think you should read it. Okay, now on to 4.5 stars. I reread Misborn Secret History because I'm reading all of Misborn right now. I'm doing a weird Cosmere reread. Like, it's not in order. I was originally going to do it in publication order, but due to circumstances and me not wanting to reread the giant Stormlight books right now, I'm getting through all of Misborn first, and then Warbreaker before I step back into Stormlight. So I reread this. I think I've rated it 4.5 stars, I think, every time that I've read it, and that's 3 times. but I did actually lower it. Like, I think previously I had rounded up to 5, and this time I rounded down to 4. So, but it was still really fun. I can't tell you what it's about though, because it's completely spoilers. It's for fans only who've read the entire series. Next up, I did finally finish Stiletto by Daniel Mallory, and now I'm fully ready. God, you shed so much. Fully ready to read Blitz, which is book 3, and oh shoot, I don't remember what the 4th book is called. So I will get to those 2 later sometime this year. It still wasn't as good for me as The Rook. I really like the 2 main characters of this one, Felicity and Odette, and the stuff with the grifters is fun, but I just really love that first book. So, but it was 4.5. It's still really good. Oh, I was going to talk about Misborn Secret History with my physical copies, but that's fine. Do I have any more? Oh, Pet. Okay. Pet and Return of the King. 5 stars. Pet, that's in my video where Chantal picked my TBR, so I don't want to talk about it again, but I gave it 5 stars. It's a older middle grade, younger YA book about a girl who teams up with a creature who comes out of one of her mom's paintings to find a monster. And I won't say more than that, but I gave it 5 stars. And then my reread of Return of the King, which I just finished today while eating my lunch. Excellent as always. Now, I will say I have not finished listening to the appendices yet. I just finished the main story. I'm very excited to listen to the appendices narrated by Andy Serkis. I don't know if people actually, besides hardcore fans, read the appendices. Some of it is like about languages and stuff, and you can skip that, but there's actually some really good stuff in there that acts sort of like an epilogue to the series. Like, it tells you what happens to everybody. It tells you the full story of Arwen and Aragorn, like a whole bunch of stuff like that. It's really fun. Lily, would you think stop? She knows she's in trouble. Oh, we gotta lift you higher because you're right on my incision. It's right there. Actually, I have 4 incisions. They do not mess around. Oh my God, she's purring so hard. What a fucking weirdo. Is this what you wanted? Or is this an unexpected surprise? You never know with her. Anyway, okay. So that was it for my digital books. Now let's go through my physical reads, and then I might go take a nap. Although it's really hard to sleep on my back and I can't sleep on my side. Okay, these are gonna be so out of order, but honestly, you guys, I don't even care. I reread the second era Misborn book, Alloy of Law. This was the last book I finished before my body started to completely break down. And it was really fun. I had a great time going through it and annotating it. This is very much a prologue, though, to the other 3 books in this series. And it doesn't go as deep, it doesn't go as hard as later books do. Although this series in general has a lighter tone than the original Misborn books. It's more of a fun, rompy adventure type book. Also, I'm going to say that I don't think this is a Western. A lot of people have called it a Western, but I don't think that it has a Western story. He's leaving the Western, it's the frontier parts of their world, and he spends the whole time in the city. He's a fish out of water because he's been in the roughs for 20 years. They're not really it's more of an urban fantasy than anything, I think. Now, I think there is one book later where they actually do spend a lot of time in the roughs. That one we might consider a Western, but at the same time, I don't think that book is concerned with the same themes that Westerns are concerned with. You know, in this world, there's no natives. Like, everyone who lives there is a native, just because of the way the magic system works, and the colonial aspect of Westerns is inescapable. It's an inescapable ingredient. People moving into unknown territory that previously belonged to somebody else. That's not the case here. Nobody lived there. They were empty. So anyway, just some food for thought, but I gave it 4.5 stars, rounded up to 5 because I had such a fun time. Next up was Time's Undoing. Next up in my backwards order. We're going backwards in time. I did not like this at all, and I'm very sad about it. This is a book about a young Black journalist who finds out that in her family history, her great-great-grandfather was murdered by a policeman, and they never found his body. And so she goes to, where did she go? Birmingham, to research what happened to him and see if she can provide some closure. And she gets the Detroit Free Press to sponsor her and agree to publish her article. I think the main problem with this is the writing, and that is, it is just very poorly written. Like, this author doesn't have her craft at all. I would say this is like beginner level novel that you don't show anyone while you practice. And I don't know why it was published. Maybe some editor thought they could market it despite it not being great. I don't know. But it was very poorly plotted. The characters were like cardboard cutouts walking around saying the weirdest things that people do not say. The plot was melodramatic and predictable, but like in not a fun way. And like just logistics of plot twists and the way characters behave and the way systems work. It's like a immature idea of those things. Like, for example, in today's world, if this was set in like the 80s, I would have bought this, but the free press ain't doing so well. No, newspapers aren't doing so well. There's no way they're going to pay a greenhorn rookie writer to travel, spend months and months in the city to essentially write a personal story about the death of her great-grandfather. That just wouldn't happen. Maybe if she'd sold it to a magazine or something like that, like a personal interest story, but it just, that whole aspect of it just was so like out of touch with reality. And the whole book was like that. Like, there's this character in here that her family is essentially part of the modern day Ku Klux Klan. And somehow she has no idea that her family members, close family members, not even like distant ones, cousins and stuff, like close immediate family members, are part of the KKK and doing bad stuff. Like, how do you not know that? Like, come on. It just wasn't good. So if you guys, I mean, honestly, like, if you're curious, the story it's telling is a good one, but the way it was told was terrible. And I feel bad for giving it a 2, but it just wasn't good. So I'm going to unhaul this. Next up, which I wish I would have talked about this last, but this was my favorite book of the month, at least my favorite new read. And that was The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. I know I have not seen that many full-throated, positive 5-star reviews of this book yet, so I'd like to add my voice. This is my favorite Joe Abercrombie book by a huge margin. The thing about Joe Abercrombie is I like his writing style. I like his characterization. I even like his plotting, as weird as it is, and like non-plotty as it usually is, because not much usually happens in a Joe Abercrombie book. He's more character focused. But the thing that was missing here that is very much present in most of his other books is the like nihilistic sense that humanity is not good. And this doesn't have that. Instead, we have a ragtag group of devils, criminals, rejects from God, like people who are authentically unholy, inherently unholy, all coming together in this like suicide-esque, I mean, everyone's saying that, but it's really the best way to describe it. You get the criminals to do a good thing and then they become good. That's a very, very simplified version, because these are very gray characters. But at the beginning of the story, at least I didn't like any of them. And by the end, I loved them all with my full heart. I just had such a great time reading this. It was very, and I've also been seeing people say it's repetitive, but like that's the structure of the book, is that there are 4 brothers and they are going to come at you one by one. If you've read it, you know what that means. And if you don't, you won't know what that means. So it's fine. But the main plot of this book is that there is this long lost princess of Troy, because this is an alternate history fantasy set in our world. There's lots of differences, but the 2 big main differences is that Troy still exists. The Greeks didn't win. The Trojans did. And then Pope is now a woman, and there are women priests, because the savior, who's never given a name, maybe she didn't have one, was a woman. And so and there's magic in this world, vampires and werewolves and all this other stuff that obviously isn't in our world. There's this group of, they call it a congregation, but it's essentially monsters and devils with special powers that the Pope and her entourage have co-opted and bound to their service to help with tasks that are very important. And the very important task in this case is getting this lost princess Alexia to Troy to claim her throne from her evil aunt's descendants, because the empress has died, the one who usurped this long lost princess's mother, who was the true empress. And now she has to get there and claim the throne before one of Eudoxia's, I think that's her name. Am I getting her name wrong? One of her sons claims the throne. And it's just like it's like a road trip adventure with lots of violence, vulgar language, but it's also very funny, and it has like a warm heart at its core. And that is ultimately why I loved it so much. This is the first Joe Abercrombie book I think I've ever given 5 stars to. I think, oh wait, no, I gave the first book, Half a King, in that series 5 stars. But then the second 2 books were a huge letdown. I ended up giving the third book 2 stars. So I really hope that doesn't happen here. And like he doesn't take the bones of what he's built here and turn it into something that I like less. Because what I like is here, and I want more of this. I mean, obviously I want the characters to grow and change and the plot to move, but I also don't want the core of the book to be undermined by the plot, if that makes sense. But yeah, 5 stars. Huzzah. Oh, I need an ice pack. Next up is Run for the Hills. I gave this one 4.5 stars. This is by Kevin Wilson, the same author as Nothing to See Here, which is a book I loved and gave 5 stars to last year. This is a book about 4 siblings, although 2 of them are really the main characters, who go on this road trip to find their father, who was a serial, I don't even know what we would call him. He left the first kid, got married, had a kid, left the first kid and wife, went to a different state, got himself a whole new life, a whole new wife, a whole new kid, left them, did it again, left them, did it again. And so they didn't know that they had siblings, and they go on this road trip to meet all of their siblings, and eventually the road trip will end with confronting their dad if they can find him. It was very charming. I loved the sibling relationship in here. It was so sweet. I read it so fast, and I now have to read everything he's written. Like, I was thinking I would like the other stuff that he's written based on how much I liked Nothing to See Here, but I wanted to give him one more shot before I officially put all the others on my TBR. But now they're going on. This was great. 4.5. Oops, I already talked about Pet, 5 stars. I already talked about Feed Them Silence, 2.5. Oops, I already talked about this. So this was in the Allie Hazelwood vlog I read Not in Love. I gave this one 4.5 stars. It is actually not a rom-com. This is more of an erotic romance. Or just a drama romance, like a regular dramatic romance between these 2 people, Rue and Eli, who are emotionally immature and can only communicate through sex. So that's how they start their relationship. And then the falling in love comes after, which I really like that kind of thing when it's done well. So I enjoyed this. And I also liked the actual plot where Eli's company comes in to sneakily buy out the company that Rue works for. And she has put her heart and soul into this company, and they are, rivaling each other as they fall in love. It's good. And then Deep End is a romance about a diver and a swimmer who are into some kink. And it's very long, and I wasn't into the kink, and I have more thoughts. I don't want to talk about it. I'm really flagging here. 4 stars. I have more thoughts in the blog down below. Bye. How many more? Oh, 2 more, and that's it. Okay, thank God. This is my other 2-star book of the month, Sleep Tight. It's been a month now. I don't remember why I gave this 2 stars. I just didn't really like it very much. And actually it was 2.5 stars, and I think I rounded up to 3. So it was fine. It's about a serial killer. And oh, I know why I didn't like it. It's because the window that we were seeing the story of the serial killer through was this woman whose child was kidnapped. And when she was a kid and a teenager, this serial killer lived in her town, and her dad was one of the cops that caught him. And she has some unknown personal connection that we don't learn until later in the book. And I just thought she was such a bland character, and she was an alcoholic. And the alcoholic, unreliable narrator female protagonist is something I was done with ages ago. I don't need another one ever again. And nothing new was done with that. Like, she didn't need to be an alcoholic or a drug addict. Well, I guess she was a drug addict, not an alcoholic. Either way, we didn't need that. And I just thought there would have been a better way to tell the story, and it was fine. And then lastly was my reread of Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson. This was 5 stars. Most have ever liked this book. This slow annotating reread continues to be a great idea. This still has one of the best endings to a fantasy series I've ever read. And it gets more poignant each time I read it. You should all read Misborn. It's great. I'm going to go put an ice pack on my stomach now. I thank you for watching. If you've made it to the end of this video and you liked it, questionable taste, you might have. Please give me a like and subscribe if you want to. Oh boy, I feel bad. Oh, anyway, thanks for watching. I will be back hopefully more normal and with more energy later. Maybe in a week. I don't know. Bye. I don't love you today. Just kidding. Okay, love you. Bye.